This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Franny's Pharmacy.
Now more than ever, it's important that our society focuses more on our mental and physical health. At Franny's Pharmacy, the team is committed to their community's need of being happy, healthy, and stress-free. Come learn how Franny's Pharmacy can assist you in a clean, professional environment with their expert bud tenders that are excited to educate you about the benefits of their lab-tested, DEA-certified CBD products. Franny's Pharmacy also offers wholesale and franchise opportunities. Visit their website at frannysPharmacy.com, and that's pharmacy with an F, and use the promo code CannaConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Again, that's Franny's Pharmacy with an F.com and use the promo code CannaConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Franny's Pharmacy, putting the farm back into pharmacy. Daulton, my man, what's going on?
What it do, Kevin? How are we doing around here?
We are doing well, my man. I was just thinking before we started recording, it's long overdue to have you on. I mean, 315 episodes. I've known you, I think, for just over a year now, you being so actively involved within the Texas hemp community. And I'm glad to have you on, man. I'm excited to talk with you. We're going to have some fun today.
It's definitely an honor to be here and to hang out with you. It's cooler because I have got to hang out with you. It's not like I'm meeting you on a podcast, Right. It's like there's some context here. And I think the first time I met you, I only want to get on if I have something to talk about. We can always talk about anything, but I always want to, make sure I have at least something to promote or something to say or an update, because I like to listen to myself talk, but other people might not like to. For no reason,
I enjoy hearing you talk, Daulton, and we're gonna get into it today for sure. And before we roll up our sleeves and talk about what you're working on and what's coming up and down the pipeline, how are you dealing with this Texas heat, this heat wave that we're seeing, man?
It's really crazy,
Yeah.
You get worried from like an environmental side where all the certain people are saying, oh, it's never going to get cold again, so that's like a concern because you never know. And then you also get like a realistic, hey, out of all the good things Texas has, this is one of the negative times.
Right.
It's like, this is like the 3 week, it goes all the way through August really, when it's like, it's just hell, man. It changes people's plans. I want to go to the truck yard tomorrow over there in your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And my sister was like, yeah, not going. Like, it's too hot. I was like, I didn't even think about that. Because usually, I'm down to sweat a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think we're just trying to beat the heat, stay indoors. But there is some record highs. I think it was like 108 today, like 109, like that is.
I know. And I have a buddy that has like this cooking channel on Instagram, and he literally put it to the test. He like cooked an egg outside in his pan on top of his car. And sure enough, yeah, like I can't count how many times yesterday, because it was 108 yesterday. I think I said, like, it's so fucking hot. Every time I walked outside to throw the trash away or like walk the dogs, it's unbearable, man. So I feel you on beating the heat and staying inside. Yeah.
And then the humid thing, people in like Las Vegas, the desert, it might get to like 118, 119 out there, but there's like no humidity. So it's like dry heat, which is actually more bearable sometimes. But
Right.
We've got the humidity too, so it feels like it's like 130. And people can't die like that. Like it's not like this. We're not going for the sauna. It's real. And as many great things Texas has, it's our economy, our size, our culture. This is like the 3 or 4 weeks a year where it's just, the electric bills are out the roof. The Bitcoin miners can't mine because ERCOT still doesn't have its shit figured out.
Right. ERCOT's asking the citizens of Texas to just keep it cool, right? Or just keep your thermostat at 78, right? Or did they ask Dallas specifically? Or
I think the whole statewide. Nobody went as viral as ERCOT in the last 2 years. Like they should teach a class on how to build a brand, know? Everybody knows ERCOT at this point. But it's like, okay, the miners are shut down. I'm sure it has some ripple effect on our micro industries here, especially for like the processors that operate equipment. We're trying to turn the Nest when you put the Nest on eco, you want to believe in it. But You end up just sweating your balls off when it says eco.
Dude, when it's on eco, it might as well be off because I'm just turning it back to
turning
high
it
60s,
off.
low 70s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to set the exact temperature you want. There's nothing to do with eco about that. So I'm just getting used to it. But I mean, I hope you're doing well down there.
Yeah, no, we're good. Same boat as you. I mean, staying in as much as I can, but obviously when I am out, plenty of water, and keeping the dogs hydrated and not out too long.
The shade, you got those big ass shade curtains behind you. That helps too.
Oh yeah.
You got to block it in. I mean, dude, I go get the mail with no shoes. It's like the one thing I do with no shoes. I'm like, nah, we're not doing that anymore. The shit is hot. Like,
yeah, you're gonna burn your feet, man. You gotta be careful. Well, speaking of, going back to kind of how we teed this up and Daulton, how you're so, heavily involved within the Texas hemp community, why don't you just provide an overview of kind of your role and as president of Green Light Events, as well as, some of the other things that you're working on to really boost what's happening within Texas hemp.
I'm getting a little bit better at explaining what we do because it's always evolving. But in the gist of it, I co-founded along with my partner David Flores, who works at an Oklahoma grow right now. We co-founded Greenlight Events with the intent of throwing cannabis business meetup events. That was in July of 2018. We've continued just snowballing, throwing networking events. More recently, started taking on other clients like bigger events like NOCO Hemp Expo, Southern Hemp Expo. So Greenlight's been on its own journey, event consulting. But the plan was never just to do events. We wanted to throw events to meet people. So now that we've met a significant amount of people, now it's time to go hit, the Dirk Nowitzki pivot, because everybody's got to pivot. We're not just going to throw events our whole life, but it is fun to do, as we'll talk about the roundup coming up. So Greenlight's been, I mean, really, we joke that we're still kind of the only dedicated events company. Other people throw events that we help with or consult with or try to promote, but we're kind of the only dedicated events company, I think, in the South, which is, I know you have more of a national and international reach. We rep Texas so heavy, but we forget that, the nation follows Texas and all these things, even though we're so far behind on weed. Through the years, we built other really strong relationships, like with the Texas Cannabis Collective, the Texas Cannabis Todays with Grace and Austin and your platform. So we've also been kind of media brokers trying to help people tell their stories. In February or March of 2021, I helped start Texas Cannabis TV. So it's like mainly an Instagram account that we joke about. And it's been kind of just a crew of degenerate guys that we've always just, you've seen it. I mean, I even texted you the day we started it, like, hey, you got anything funny to post? Let's do it.
Right.
And it's taken on a life of its own. Texas Cannabis TV is really an advertisement deal, mainly Instagram, but we're on LinkedIn, Twitter, and we're starting to promote more content, push it through. We knew we bottlenecked ourselves saying Texas cannabis anything, but it's just fun. That's what we do. And people, everybody's so tribal. People don't, Cannabis TV, who wants to watch that? They want to hear about their local stuff going on. So
especially in Texas, I mean, it being such a prohibitive state, it's like very unique and interesting, right? People are like, well, what's going on within the cannabis culture in Texas? I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, people, and you get the same thing being from here. It's like, well, people are just curious, like for a state that's already well developed, like who cares? It's not new. And we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, even talking about psilocybin and mushrooms. And the joke is that that's going to be legal before full medical access for cannabis in Texas. And if I had to flip a coin, like maybe so, like maybe psilocybin is more easily accessible, safe access than medical cannabis because they're playing this conditions game. We'll see. You never know. We got a real conservative legislature coming on. And there's a lot of other problems Texas has other than cannabis. I talk with political people. It's like, dude, Texas has a lot of problems. We don't even have ERCOT. Let's make jokes about them again. I mean, we want medical and adult use legalization and people out of jail for dumb, nonviolent offenses. They should be out of jail for. But also people start getting hot and they're like, oh shit, we got to fix the grid. Like as smart as humans are, we literally can't do two things at once. Like the joke is like, oh, can you walk and chew gum? It's like, probably not. Like humans will probably swallow all the gum. And
well, individuals could, but then if you got a group of individuals and humans together, then they would say, well, no, you got to do it this way when you walk and chew. And there'd be so much discussion and changing of terminology and whatnot to where, it would just kind of confuse the process. I think basically what I'm saying is individuals, I think, in my opinion, are much more, I guess.
I love America, dude. Yeah. Love America. And I love the freedom of choice we have for everything. But that's why a country like China is just kicking our ass in everything because they're not giving their people up. They're saying we're doing this. And if you don't like it, you're pretty much don't exist anymore according to their social credit score. But that's some stuff me and you laugh about behind the scenes. Circling back, just all the nonsense we're involved in, because it's like a pro freedom thing. What got me into this is, my mom had breast cancer, and I would help get her cannabis and stuff. And like, she wasn't a criminal. So that was really my activism, why I feel compelled to speak at, for testify for medical marijuana bills in Texas. I testified in the 2019 legislature. The 2021 one got a little weird because COVID and everything, but I definitely intend to testify for this session, share my experiences, share what's, because they're criminalizing medicine for these folks. That was it. And the freedom that belongs in this industry. It's like really my freedom fighter wannabe self is what also propelled me kind of just throw my body in this thing, going out at full force, really selling out. I say to people that want to get in the industry, you really just got to try hard. It's like a joke, but you really just got to go submerge your way in there. If you're scared to post on your Facebook that you have cannabis business friends, like you're not going to make it. Like you're hiding from your true identity.
Yeah, that's such a great point, because that's really, I mean, if you think about it, that's really the first step that most people have to take if they're not open with their relationship with cannabis or their passion for the industry. Right. So it's a bold first step. I know that I encountered it myself, 2 years ago at the height of the pandemic, when I said, hey, I'm going to launch this podcast. I've been a user of cannabis for 15 years. And that was a tough kind of decision at the time, because I thought, what are my former coworkers are going to say, or what are people going to think? But once I did it, I was so happy that I did, because no one really gives a shit.
Nobody gives a shit.
No one gives a shit. You're all in your head at that point. And really, it was a learning lesson for me,
And you're doing it responsibly. You're not doing anything illicit. You're not selling unchild-proof package weed to kids. Like,
right.
There's certain things that the community, like, we don't stand for. And it's like, we're all law-abiding, or at least, the laws we need to follow citizens. We don't ill will on anything. It's like the bad apples that give everybody a bad reputation for some of these things, because there are certain things I actually hate about the industry that's happening. But in Texas, we have to be careful, since we do not have a real program. We can't start complaining about the little things we do have. Right. That's where I've been really kind of quiet on some of these bigger issues, especially with some of the synthetic stuff we're seeing, because again, that doesn't go along with what my core values are here. But I'm not going to make it my life's mission to stop some type of progress, albeit. And when we see more money coming into the community to build a bigger economy, we have to be able to stand on our own before we start complaining about things. And there's no real solutions anyway. It's just been pretty wild. That was what I was going to say. And if you don't want to speak publicly about it, you better have a really good investor and a really good business plan. Because me and you could. We could, that commercial where it's like, oh, it's one business, but the guy's wearing 20 hats. We could do that and then just not tell anybody who we are and sell to stores. And, but that's going to be the path a lot harder in my mind. Especially in 2022, people want to do business with each other.
Right. Especially this industry. It's a small community. You can attest to that in Texas, right? I mean, everybody knows each other, and
everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other. And the cream is going to rise to the crop with who's actually doing what. Again, one of the benefits of being around since July of 2018, we've seen people come up and down. It's kind of like a stock. I joke around. We talk about some people, hey, they're like a stock. It's like, hey, they're going good or they're being crazy. I'm sure people think that about me. It's like, oh, we like to be friends with Daulton, but when he's acting crazy on Facebook, maybe we'll stay away from him. It's like, hey, or, anytime there's an event coming up, our stock is always up, because you never know, and all of our events haven't been always lights out. We've had to pull back, or we've had to change things, venues. And remember COVID, the mask mandate, I think you were there, that Dallas County mask mandate went into effect. We had to walk down the street. We had to just move everybody. And, all respect to the venues and everything. They're going to do what they got to do. But also we have a duty. It's not only with people and sponsors' money, but to the people that chose their time to drive there. The most anxious I've really ever been is when I had a friend. It was like our third event coming like October or September of 2018. Like CBD Genie and some other people were driving from Austin and Houston. I never met these people before. I said, holy shit, like you're driving 3.5, 4 hours to my event. I've never met you. Maybe 4 people will be there, maybe 10, maybe 40, but I was still super anxious about it, because you're taking people's time. You're taking people's wear and tear on their car. These are like people's individual decisions that as an event promoter, you're responsible for.
Right.
And I got over that real fast, because if you want to get in the mix, you got to get in the mix. There's some stuff you just can't do on Zoom, so except we're crushing it on Zoom here. So that's kind of my I forgot what question you
Well,
asked.
that's a great. I mean, there's a lot to pick apart from that. It's all good stuff. I mean, to answer your question, yeah, like I understand how you're talking about that eventual pivot with green light events, right? You're not always going to be just an events company where you're networking and bringing operators together and really building the community that way. But it's a great platform to have, right? I mean, like to your point, like that's really where business gets done, especially in the cannabis industry, it being so new and so many new operators and players stepping in, whether they're from other industries or their legacy. So it's a dance right now. And I've been to some of your events, you know, and I got to say, you guys do a great job with everything from, you know, the networking aspect to the speakers that you have. I know that you feature legal professionals and scientists and others. So yeah, I think it's great stuff, man.
We have to hide behind the licensed professionals. I appreciate those compliments, dude. And it's people like you that bring the media and because our first event again had like 12 people there. It looked like an AA meeting. And I mean that with the total respect for the AA meetings. People said, oh, I use weed for this. I use weed for that. It ended up being more of just like, again, this was July 2018 over there in Addison.
Yeah.
We just put it on Facebook, made a flyer, didn't even have a website, dude. And it was just like, people just felt like they had their community there. And, you know, we still have like the list of people that were there, maybe do something like that eventually. But I wanted to mention, because there's two things I like to say. As this community was building, you know, we would see people come out, and I would always tell people, you know, it's like a current in an ocean. You don't see it at all. But the second you get inside this current, the entire Texas industry lights up like a grid. It's very obvious who's doing what in what city, and the supply chain is not impossible to figure out. Okay, you need lab testing, you need seeds, somebody's got to grow this, you know, and it's like, okay, well, who does that? And for a while it was super murky with all these brands that hadn't met each other. It's another reason why we throw these events. We joke it's like a water hole, you know. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. So if Kevin is running his mouth about he's got the best prices, he's got the best distribution, he's got the best growth, perfect, man, come showcase that. Because we want to put you up on that pedestal, especially if you are doing good business, you're being transparent. We like you, you know, and you'll never find a sponsor that we've like gouged for money. Of course, we have to have sponsors in order to do things at the level we want to, but also there's benefit in that. Like we've helped blow up some of the brands through this, you know, and then sometimes we've blown up some people we shouldn't have. But that was also a lesson I had to learn pretty deep. Again, we don't love to talk about our losses, but there's been a couple. And, you know, connecting everybody to everybody's fun until you start getting text, oh, I had to sue that guy. Why'd you introduce me to him? And I was like, well, you should have. I didn't say give that dude 10 grand. I just said you should meet him. He looked like a fun guy.
Right.
Know?
Do you see that subsiding a little bit or not really? Like since 2018, is it getting a little better?
I would say so. There's more. There's for me at least personally, because I don't blind introduce people near as much as I used to, unless it's just too. Sometimes now I'm doing it for them to scope each other out. I've even group texted people where it's like, hey, y'all scope each other out and let me know which one of y'all's bullshitting. Like I have literally done. It's like it's a great intro to them. So they're like, it's like an icebreaker. It's like, well, if one of us is bullshitting, it will get back to me. You know,
right.
It's like, and not that my opinion matters, but a lot of stuff does come over my desk, whether it's on the green light side or the Texas Cannabis TV side, or recently acquired Hemp Business Builder. Like, again, there's plenty of other people out there, but the amount of stuff that comes through me and my team's desk, we do have eyesight on a lot of stuff.
You're a good source, right? I mean, to get a gauge of you know, this person is nefarious, if they have good intentions.
I would agree.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
We're so transparent, we can't help it, almost to a fault. I like to talk too much. I share too many secrets. Loose lips sink ships with my own secrets. You know, the number one thing is like, don't tell anybody you do it until you do it, because they might screw you. I mean, my thing is nobody's going to do it because they don't have the energy or passion I do. You know, You can say, hey, go make CBD and sell it. Go for it, bro. You're not going to sell it like me. You know, if I want to do that.
Or you're not going to work as hard as me, or I kind of have that mindset too. Like, I mean, I don't like to focus in on competition as much, because if you start worrying so much about what the others are doing, you lose sight of what's important in your own mission and your own strategy. And it becomes a game of catch up, as opposed to like, let me do what I know how to do it best. Right. And just move and keep going and keep focused. And I think that's the right kind of mentality. It sounds like you share that.
Well, you got to create your own path. You know, why would I want to compete for what you're building? I might take it, then I don't want it. or I lose the game that I didn't want to play to begin with. It's like you're playing basketball, I'm playing football, and I jump the court, and it's like I didn't even want to play that game. You know, I was better over here. So another just funny quote is like, we never want to build a car we don't want to drive anymore. And David Flores and I would always talk about that with Greenlight. Like Greenlight has seasons. You know, it's like, hey, sometimes we joke that we're putting it in the garage. It's like Greenlight, it's not like a full-time job for us. It doesn't pay us enough to like sustain the lifestyle we need to live and to move around and to do what we need to do and drink Stella because those get expensive, you know. Start drinking Natty Light, stop drinking, you know, which I've actually cut a lot back. You know, I've cut back a lot of the drinking and the smoking because things just get more serious. You know, I want to be on all the time, and obviously the networking.
How have you felt? Because I've experienced that also. You know, since the pandemic, people have done a lot of like life-changing things, right? They've for the better, and so drinking has been one where I've really tried to cut it down. And I've seen a huge difference in like, you know, my feeling in the morning and my clear thinking. Like what's been your experience in that journey?
You know, the experience is when I drink, it's even better because if you're not, you know, you drink 7 days straight, it's like the seventh day, it's like, that's not very fun, but you take 2 weeks off, that beer tastes a little colder.
That buzz hits a little quicker.
A little bit quicker. You know, again, like 3 beers will pretty much get me drunk at this point. The 4th is like, where are we going? You know, or 2 old fashions. And, you know, for me, it's more of like a weekend or celebrate thing. It's like, you know, or even sometimes like when, you know, we've been working, when we're going to the 9th hour of the day, it's like, man, I'll get a beer and drink it by myself. Just it's easier to respond to some emails or I'm like getting the laugh or calling a friend, especially in this digital world we live in. Because some of my other jobs, happy hour was the thing, you know, we would go to work, we'd go to happy hour and I would actually get more clients, more opportunity at the happy hour because it's like extended work. You could say, hey, we're drinking, but you're meeting with the manager, you're doing something. So I'll try to find friends on the way home. I always say, I think I texted you after that other happy hour that I met with those insurance guys. I said, dude, I just left happy hour. I'm just calling people. Like me and you were going to have a quick 15-minute post happy hour drink because, you know, I'm not going to say I lean on it because I'm a social person without it. But one beer, I am a lot more friendly. Like, it's just true. It's like, hey.
No, absolutely. And even with business, man, I mean, I've always said it's called a social lubricant for a reason. And I think that it really like allows you to better read someone and see kind of how they act and respond in a situation where they may be a little more vulnerable, a little more open with alcohol. Right. And so to get business, and if you click with someone and actually get along, then that's even better than being sober, I'd say. Right. I mean,
and how, you know, it's one thing, like I met this guy and he immediately was telling me how much he hated his business partner and how much he wanted to partner with me. Dude, I met this guy, like pretend it's Tinder, just met him. And I immediately thought, dude, you're going to say the same thing about me, you know, or kind of like a guy that's immediately willing to, you know, cheat on his wife. Okay, he'll cheat on the next wife, you know? It's like, so
if he doesn't know you and he's just saying that, that's kind of strange, right?
And then offering me a partnership simultaneously. That's weird. Okay. And so again, with the drinking thing, these happy hours, you get like, if you see somebody that can still, okay, now we're drinking our 4th and 5th beer and they're starting
to holding it together.
And again, it's not, you know, some of these older guys, they'll just try, oh, let's take 10 shots because they like think they know what they're doing. I'm like, bro, I will outdrink you. Like you're like, dude, you're going to be the one under the table here, not me. And, you know, or there's just things dude, I've like thrown shots out. I pretended to take shots, like not because I don't want to stand up to whoever I'm with. Like if it's a group of people, it's like, no, I just don't even need to make this about myself right now. This isn't about me being, it's like, I don't want this. People feel the need to. So to answer your question, I feel a lot healthier drinking less. It coincided with me busting my Achilles. So I got fat with the Achilles. I couldn't afford to drink, you know, 10 more beers a week. Like I had
You had that big accident, man, with your Achilles. You had surgery, didn't you?
I did have surgery, but it didn't slow me down, bro. I'd pull up in the scooter and stuff. That's the other thing. Like, okay, you get an Achilles or you get a bad hand. Like, what are you going to do with it? You know, it's like, hey, at least we get, you know, we get the VIP parking, you know, you get a handicap sticker, you know, you got to see the good. But that's kind of what I'm saying. I think the happy hours help, the camaraderie helps. And it is important, especially when we're trying to build a community that we can trust each other's things. Like, hey, you don't have to drink, but it's like, can I trust you in a setting? Would I want my family to meet you? Would I want, you know, can I have a beer with this guy? Would I like you? I know you guys go golf a lot. Would I care if this guy's on a golf course? Like you might like the guy on Zoom, but if he can't even like drive the golf cart, you might be like, oh, do I really trust this guy? And it's that's more of like a male thing. Obviously we got a lot of The cannabis
or if they're complaining a lot all the time and just in a bad mood, like that's always a negative, right? When someone's just a dark cloud. Yeah.
We don't need that. Or we want to help them be like, hey, because these things do affect each other. It's contagious, you know? Like when you're getting yelled at all day, you're in a bad mood. When you're surrounded by awesome people, you're in an awesome mood. So it definitely like yawning's contagious. But I mean, we'll see. I tried doing the 75-day hard for like 2 weeks, like that stopped. Because there's so many things, dude. You know, I'm an events guy. I got my calendar. I mean, we got bachelor parties, we got big events, we got weddings, we got cannabis cups, like we got our own events. Like, when is there a 75 days in a row I'm not supposed to drink a beer? You know, like
no,
what? And I'm not.
That's what it's all about, balance, right? That's
right.
I mean, cutting cold turkey, if you enjoy something, everything in moderation, even cannabis, right? It's an external substance. So you can definitely abuse it, and you can definitely get to a point where you're relying heavily on it. And that can be detrimental both to your health and your mood. So I see that, man. And it's good to hear that you're taking that step to be a little more moderate. I know I have been.
We need it.
We need it, just to get better. And you pulled out your calendar, man, because you're infamous for that calendar. I love it, and it's perfect segue because I want to talk to you about Dallas Startup Week, which I will be participating in. Also, I'll be moderating a session, but I want you to talk about those 2 sessions in particular. And kind of how that all came about with Dallas Startup Week. I think it's the first time they're featuring a cannabis track. Is that right?
Well, it's the first time that they're doing a lot of marketing for it. If you just look at Dallas Startup Week's LinkedIn, it actually looks like you're the only one doing anything because your graphic came out first. It's actually pretty good.
I got the headliner post in
it's funny. Richard Chang texted me and said, hey, where's mine? I said, dude, like, if you want it done quick, you might as well just make it yourself real fast. Because Dallas Startup Week, we'll get to it, but it's a nonprofit organization. People are late submitting deadlines. Like I was a little late submitting a deadline on another panel we were doing. And so it's like, it's just being really featured. So Dallas Startup Week, I appreciate the calendar too. I got 2023 too, by the way. It's like we're rolling 20 months out, and it's not in Sharpie, it's in pencil. If it's like, hey,
Yeah, by the way, those that are just listening, not watching, Daulton has his calendar. It's a literal paper that he writes on pencil. So it's not even on his phone. He carries this thing around and he pulls it out. He's like, okay, here's what I got. And I say that because I remember you doing that at the last conference we were at.
January 2023, I've got FarmCon January 4th in Kansas City. Maybe I go, maybe I don't, but I remember FarmCon is January 4th. It's cool. Because we got to go start doing more traditional agriculture stuff. We can't have all these just cannabis bros and cannabis girls all converging on each other. We got to go traditional ag. They don't have to raise money for a tractor. They already have it. They don't need to go build a fence. They have it. So that's just a side note. So circle back, Dallas Startup Week, August 10th. It's actually the whole week. And a couple years ago, it's when I was working for EarthX still, I nominated myself. It was actually an application process to get selected as a track captain. And I joined or applied and got approved, which I don't know how many people we went against, but it always sounds better to say, there was some type of threshold to do environmental capitalist, environmental business panels is really kind of what I think I was brought in there to do. And throughout the years, the last 3 years, I've just kind of stayed in touch and helped put the panels together last year for COVID. And this year, it's the first time really big in person at SMU. And so I told them I wanted to have 2 panels this time on cannabis. Last year we had 1. And the year before that we had 1, but they weren't like highly promoted. So it's actually the 3rd year Dallas Startup Week has done cannabis stuff. But this is definitely the biggest feature they've done on it, where it's pretty much a track of its own. So we've got you talking about social issues, social equity opportunities. And we have another panel talking about cannabis startup compliance. They're both kind of the similar. We have a very diverse panel group for the first and the second. Everybody's talking about startup challenges.
Right.
And dude, it's just going to be great. It's really going to be great because again, you set the tone. It's all about the venue, being at the SMU Cox School of Business, and you know how hard it was? Kevin, I can prove this to you every year, even with emails. Because like the first year I put together a panel, it was easy. Chelsea Spencer, Richard Chang, and somebody else. It's like, hey, get 2 lawyers that do weed and bring them on. Right. The second year it was a little bit harder. It's like, okay, well, there's more lawyers, there's more businesses. This year, dude, we have like 40 qualified people in Dallas.
That's great. That is a great problem.
It's a great problem. And I can and I totally can speak with authority on this because everybody wants these Dallas Startup Week panels, bro. Like, it's the truth. Like, I've had 3 or 4 people reach out like, hey man, what can I do to get on there? And I'm like, it's like, dude, you're qualified, but I already have these filled. And you got to be doing something really special, like starting your own weed company and brand and selling it. Like, that's not special enough to be with this scarce resource. If we were having an entire conference, of course, you'd be featured.
You'd have a track, you'd have a session. Yeah.
There's only 8 slots to go. This is not unlimited. And as much as Dallas Startup Week is okay with it, this is not about cannabis. It's about Dallas Innovation and Dallas Innovates and all these other big Dallas publications being there. So yeah, those 2 panels are going to be great. August 10th. And I forgot kind of what we were talking about. We got Shada. Shada's the only one coming from Austin. And that was the other thing. I wanted her to be there because she helps out and can really speak with authority on the marketing. And she made a joke that she's grandfathered into DFW because her husband's from Granbury or Fort Worth or something. So it's all Dallas in-house. We got Chelsea Spencer, Richard Chang, Shelby Bishop from Moon Taxi. We got Parker Bergeron. We got Carlos Frias, old school people that know about Green Lotus. That was one of the iconic Dallas hemp companies. Now he runs a craft grow in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. And there's a few more people. Leah Laxton's is going to moderate the other panel. And it's just, that's what I like to do, man. I like to bring people together and have these riveting conversations with people that can speak on it. Again, nobody wants to hear me talk about what cannabis law is, dude. I don't know. Like, I might read the bill, but that shit changes so often. Like, who knows?
Right. And I'm the same way, right? The way I kind of view this podcast is I'm not an expert by any means in everything cannabis. I kind of just facilitate the conversation and get it out of the experts. And kind of that's going to be my role in that session that you mentioned, is to moderate cannabis business opportunities, social impact, social equity, and things of that nature. So I really look forward. You mentioned Shada. Shout out to Shada and her husband, Sage. She's actually been on the podcast before, and so has Leah Laxton's, who is with you on the Green Lights events team, right?
Leah is currently interim COO of Greenlight Events, which is also managing the brands Hemp Business Builder and Texas Cannabis TV. So that's how we're structured right now. Nice. We're kind of like it's a lot going on. We got 3 different brands doing 3 different things, and they all are a little funky. We got Hemp Business Builder, really great subscription service where members can pay monthly, pretty much just have access to Leah and her team and everybody building out exclusive discounts for Greenlight events. So again, Hemp Business Builder gets discounts to Greenlight events, okay, and discounts for Texas Cannabis TV advertising. And we've got Texas Cannabis TV pipes and grinders coming out soon. So, and we're floating with the idea of some original content.
Some merch, man. I like that. Yeah.
And we've got it set up, fingers crossed. Again, I don't want to speak, my grandma would say speaking out of turn, but we have it set up to where if you want to order 1,000 pipes, you'll be able to get 1,000 pipes. This is not going to be me showing up. How many do you need? China's supply chain should not be a problem.
So it's wholesale. It's not like individual, or both.
We could do both. Do both. We have a strategic partner that's like a fulfillment center that we're really, everything's not done yet, but it's looking good. At the very least, we'll be able to work with them in the short term until we get our own stuff figured out. Because me, I'm not, dude, Dallas traffic, bro. I might waste more money in gas dropping it off in Deep Ellum than I might make selling a pipe for $1,
Right.
But that's how Leah's involved. She kind of oversees everything. We kind of have this game going on, obviously, where she has to approve a lot of things I agree to, and I have to approve a lot of things she does too. But we do that because we're just so in the person people. You could say, hey, will you take me to Kansas tomorrow? And I'll be like, sure, bro, let's go. I didn't even look at my calendar that I love so much. So It's good to have some checks and balances, and she really does that to me. We also still have hemp tours kind of sitting in the bullpen. There's another company that also has a stake in that, but we're kind of, maybe that gets revived when things pick back up, and we're flirting with doing something in Dallas with that. So in Deep Ellum, you can walk everywhere. So an iconic hemp tour is just walking around all these different places, getting education. But the market might not like that anymore, dude. Most of these people know hemp is good. So we don't really, and the ones that don't care about what COA is. They don't care how to read them, unfortunately.
Right.
We used to think teaching people how to read COAs was cool. And for patients that need safe access, it's paramount to know how to read a COA. But if you're an average consumer, they don't care. So it's kind of like the market spoke to us as, people are not interested in that, unfortunately, at least at scale enough to do on a business side.
Yeah, but at least like you said, it's in the bullpen, and if there's opportunity to pivot or kind of leverage the current customer base or audience that it has, I mean,
Oh,
why not? You
I
know,
think you got
that's
like 10,000 emails. I think Hemp Tour's Instagram is still running. All these brands are also marketed on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. They're fully ready to go. I mean, God forbid Facebook ever lets us do advertisement. Like I mean, we might even chop some of these up and sell them. You never know. Like, who knows?
I know.
Something I've been seeing on Facebook, dude, which you've probably seen too. All of these Texas medical doctors are running Facebook ads right now. And there's like 3 or 4.
I haven't seen those. I've just seen the larger CBD players run ads like CBDMD and like those bigger ones. I've seen that they're able to do it, but it's because they have the large budgets and they got the relationship with the Facebook account teams, so
it's obvious. If you are running Facebook ads, that means A, you have the budget to do something.
Right.
B, just like you said, you have somebody that knows how to do Facebook ads. 3, you have a system set up.
It's like when you pay enough money to Facebook as a business, they provide you with your own account manager, right? So like if you have a big budget with Facebook, you're going to be working with Tom at Facebook, who's going to say, yeah, we're going to run these for you. So it's really unfair for the small to medium businesses that don't have those big budgets. Yeah.
Impossible.
You get shut down. Yeah.
Impossible for small growers too to compete with these giant greenhouses unless they're on the craft side. This one I'm not endorsed with them. I don't even know who they are, but it's Texas Can MD on Facebook. So TXCANNMD. Dude, I'm getting flooded every time I get on Facebook. I'm getting ads. I reached out to them. I just told them, I'm like, hey, I see y'all pushing ads. When y'all got a budget, hit me up. Maybe so, but it's like, hey, I know y'all are one of the 7 companies here that have a budget. So, we might as well work with them. But that's, all jokes aside, because, I'm not.
That just shows how scrappy we have to be in this industry because, it's like we're forced to go to the, there's not traditional communication channels that you can leverage, because of all the restrictions.
You have to create your own. You have to create your own ownership. And even on Facebook, one of my good friends teaches us this. Even when we build a Facebook group, Facebook still owns that. So even when we get like fractionalized ownership over a group or a LinkedIn group, it still is not guaranteed. So we've had to create our own pathways. But I like it, dude. I do business right now, literally, and this because I don't have a great CRM. We have one. I just don't love it as much as I should. I will literally look through my text messages, my WhatsApp, my Messenger, and my Instagram all at the same time and just look at who the fuck I'm talking to and then get back to people. It's like, you can't keep up. Those are my 4 main things. It's like, okay, who am I? I mean, that's how we've sold sponsorship to everything. That's how we get deals done. It's like, because dude, our brains don't work.
No. Like, you know what? It's so crazy. I saw the other day that I love. So I have the Outlook email app on my iPhone, and they have this new feature where if you haven't responded to someone in like a day or 2, at the top of your inbox, it says, hey, like, do you want to respond to Daulton? And it reminds you like, oh shit, I haven't gotten back to that person yet. So to your point, like I'm the same way. I have so many channels that I'm managing and looking at, like where did I even respond to that person from? Right. But the artificial intelligence, man, it's helping in that way,
Or somebody told you something you can't prove. That's when I'm so mad. It's like, I know Kevin told me this and I need it right now to like prove it. Like, oh, Kevin told me this screenshot. It's like, well, where the fuck did he tell that to me? Just a side point, I like to be a jokester too. I love that feature until it's an email you want to forget about, and then it's like, oh, that guy trying to screw me, or
no, you just swipe left. You just swipe left.
Get a gun. I always get to know, do you want to respond to him or her? I'm like, I really don't want to, but if you keep asking me, I might,
Right.
But and it's addicting, dude. Like I saw that Google Netflix thing where they literally built Gmail to be addicting. Like, dude, it is a little addicting. Like I'll check my email 85 times a day when I'm not expecting anything. So, it's just fun. But dude, I love it, man. And love that, you kind of got some Rogan in you. Because again, we're the same way. I don't try to be an expert on anything. It's just I just like to learn.
Yeah.
I can't speak with some authority now that we've been doing it so long on the events and some media, like setting prices. Well, what should an Instagram post cost? When we looked around and there was nobody else to ask. Kind of like to your point, we have to be scrappy. Like you could ask, like, what am I going to do? Ask an account that has 8 followers how much they charge. Like, takes Cannabis TV, at least today has 16,000 real followers. Instagram might take it away tomorrow. That's not a lot, but in Texas, it is a lot. And we try to keep up with it, but we're getting shadow banned. And the dumbest content gets thousands of views, and the real news gets like 8 likes. And we have a problem because if a sponsor wants to do a post and it gets no likes, it's like, dude, I feel for you, but also this is
I can't control that. And is the content good? Right? Are we creating the content? Because if we are, then okay, that's one thing. But are you creating the content? More. And if it's not high quality, that's the next step. You can't just boost a post and expect it to perform well.
And we're not boosting a post just for anybody, dude, because then you get the Instagram flags, and we're doing the best we can to get no flags from anybody. But we do have backup accounts, and we got the brand. I mean, if we lost our Instagram, we'd probably start creating really high quality content for LinkedIn. If Instagram just disappeared overnight, because at first we thought Texas Cannabis TV was just an Instagram account because it is. But LinkedIn is there enough, and enough people have heard about it. So I put that shit hard on LinkedIn. Because I know chief marketing officers nationally be like, well, what is this? And it's like, hey, we don't know. And we're pretty transparent about that. We don't know. So it's like, okay, we're not going to be bought and sold, but if we're open for mentorship, we're open to other media, or as you said, people that create amazing media, dude, we'll share it. Like we found this guy in DFW called Smoke and Fish. And all he does all day, well, no, at least all day on his Instagram feed, is he smokes blunts, smokes joints, and goes to fish the Trinity River.
No
and
shit.
Out monster alligator gar, bro.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
I'll send it to you on Instagram. You'd be like, what the fuck? Put it in the show notes. And so I hit this guy up. I'm like, dude, we hit him up for a 30-second commercial for the Texas Cannabis Roundup. I'm like, dude, because he takes people on trips to the Trinity River to go do this. I'll send you his thing. It's Cleo Hooker.
Yes, send it to me. Yes. After this, send it to me.
Okay. Yeah, his thing is called Smoke and Fish. Cleo the Hooker. And that's because that's your area. So, we're trying to create good content. Like if you're looking at commercials, we're going to have some paid commercials during the roundup, but also like, dude,
let's talk about the roundup. That's a good segue. So like as we're wrapping up here, I want to get to that. So tell people what the roundup is, and then what you were.
I mean, we're just saying we're gonna have a commercial. This dude smoking and fishing because that's cool to see,
For the roundup. So before it happens, you're gonna air that or put it on social media or what? I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we might put it on social media beforehand, kind of like just for fun or right after or something. But so and the run of show is not complete. Have you been to the Longhorn Ice House? Were you at our last event there?
I was there briefly. Yeah, I've been to the Longhorn Ice House.
So you kind of get the setup there. So, we're going to have just a big networking event, a couple vendors. There's not a lot of room for exhibitors. There'll probably be like 3 or 4 exhibitors. We have tables, private tables, kind of like it's such a bad example. It looks like bottle service. It's not. Like we are selling tables, private tables for you to sit at, but this does not come with a bottle or anything because people want a safe place to sit, once it gets hectic in there. Right. So we've got exhibitors, we've got tables, and we've got a patio. There's going to be a group on the patio having like a booth because everybody's going to go out there and smoke after. And we have about an hour and a half of programming of just updates. We're going to have policy. Austin Z is going to talk a little bit. We're going to have industry with a couple sponsors.
I bet the policy is definitely going to touch on the smokable hemp ban nonsense that was recently passed.
It's got to a little bit, We're still finalizing a couple speakers here and there because we like to update. I know there's a Texas Cannabis PAC that I think we formally invited. I don't know if they've accepted or not, if they're ready to say anything. Sometimes, again, it's one of my favorite things to say, just because you can get a hold of somebody doesn't mean you should. You got to wait till it's dialed in to say. So that's what I always tell brands too. It's like, hey, I'm not pressuring you to do this, but just know like this is here. But also don't make a fool of yourself with some of these companies that are just starting. Like if you don't have a website, it's like, hey, maybe now's not the best time because you get a kind of a one shot with a lot of these people. So industry, we're gonna have some sponsors, and the culture, dude, a lot of culture is gonna be there. We've had some pretty high profile invites out. That maybe we'll talk about later because they haven't been 100% confirmed. So I don't want to look dumb retroactively.
Well, and Cannabinoid Connect is a proud sponsor.
Big time.
We will be there. Yep. And thinking about maybe doing some, a podcast on site. I'm not sure about live yet, but I'm excited to be there, man. It's going to be great. And it's after the sessions, but later, like in the evening time, right? So people can check out the Dallas startup cannabis session that you mentioned at like 10 a.m. And then the roundup starts at what, like 6:30?
Yeah, the roundup starts at 6:30. Sorry, the dogs were barking. I wish I had my dog in here. She swims. If you ever seen her on Instagram account, I share her sometimes. And so just be at the damn door. You never know. That's the other thing working from home. So Dallas Startup Week, 10:30 to 12:30. The roundup starts around 6:30. So there is like a break in time. We're going to recommend people go to a hotel that are from out of town, or the Texacan or the Marriott right at Las Colinas, which is a super fire area.
Yep.
And so the roundup starts at 6:30. I think the speakers will be around 7 to 8. And going to be some great speakers, some really special guests. The website, it's on greenlighteventsco.com, but there's a lot that has not been updated there. We're still making speaker graphics. But I will say, it's confident to say I used to not be as confident about these things. And I hate to even say it like this because it's gross sounding, but it is like the who's who of the industry is going to be there. Like, that's just the truth. Like the biggest Facebook accounts, the biggest Instagram accounts, the biggest processors, like anybody, the 3 or 4 biggest extractors in Texas, I've personally invited, so they can either come or they can't. But if they don't, they're missing a lot of opportunities. On the conservative side, there's going to be at least 100 store owners there by volume. Maybe one guy might own 20 stores, but I can confirm that there will be over 100 stores there, lawyers present. What I mean by the commercials, what we're going to try out, which I'm really excited about, is in between speakers, we're going to have 30-second commercials. Like, the next speakers come, because the audio visual at Longhorn Ice House is so dope, bro.
Right. It's huge. Yeah.
It's all about picking the venue, man. Just like we talked about Dallas Startup Week, SMU, cool. So we're coming. Nobody wants to go to the back alley where there's no microphone that doesn't work. Right. Like when microphones work. So Longhorn Ice House is hooking us up with a great deal. We have amazing audio visuals. So I think we're going to run, like 4K commercials. I don't, again, this is all happening in real time, but Chelsea Spencer from Ritter Spencer, I don't think she's gonna be able to make it, but we've asked her to do like a clip where because she's really the one that can speak with the most authority on the smokable hemp ban.
Right.
We want her to speak on. Another lawyer can like regurgitate what she already knows, but it's good to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. And I mean that somebody might get offended by that.
Because she worked on that actual case, right? She was like directly involved, wasn't she?
She pretty much put it together, bro. It's a lot of her. It's a lot of her people that I think helped fund it, and she was definitely on the.
We need to get her on. I've talked to her. I've met her before, but I need to reach out again.
She's so dope, dude. She's so dope. She's the only reason Greenlight had any credibility at all. She spoke at our second event. And people like the fact that like we got her, which she loaned us credibility, bro. I told her that at the time, like you barely know us, but she vetted us a little bit. She's like, who are these characters? But when she gets up and delivers a 10-minute monologue about what the hell's going on, and then they remember, oh, that was a Greenlight event, like that definitely helped us out, dude.
Right.
And we didn't have to pay her a lot to do that. She sacrificed her time and her effort. And that's why we will always ride for Ritter Spencer. We love that law group. But the problem is I love all these law groups. Love Lisa Pittman. Love drinking beer with Richard Chang, Professor Richard Chang. So it's like, and that's the cool thing about the community too, is like, we're friends with these people. Like it's not just about business sometimes. Like you generally care about, the people you're doing business with and stuff. So the roundup's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be a lot of businesses. It's great for new people because the blood, sweat, and tears that people like you and I have put in the last 3 or 4 years, they're getting it served up to them on a platter. You want a grower, you want an extractor, you want a tester. It's all right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's awesome, man. No, I'm looking forward to it. August 10th. If you're in the Dallas area or if you're in Texas, make sure to check it out. We're going to publish this episode, of course, before it takes place. And I'll include all the registration links in the description box so people can easily get to it. But
and it's free to the public too. I can't promise we're going to have a lot more hyper free events because there's some things that happen. People don't take it as seriously sometimes, unfortunately. But with this venue, it was the right thing to do. Open to the public. We'll have extra security there, bro. I don't want to throw anybody out, but we've definitely thrown some people out of parties before, dude. So
hey, there's always someone in the group that gets a little too tipsy or I don't know, gets a little too.
People get excited, dude. I remember people
passionate. People
are so passionate. That was me. I remember following some people around there like, Daulton, calm down. I'm like, no, like this is all I want. Like I'm here, and it's like, okay, just simmer down. We're not going to kick anybody out for passion, but if you start acting up or smoking where you're not supposed to smoke, we will. We're super nice, dude. But when you fuck with us, like we fuck back. I don't even know what that means, but we do. And put that on a fucking t-shirt. We don't care,
Yeah. Well, you gotta do that, right? I mean, this industry, again, like you talked about earlier, being so new and just different players coming in, you got to watch yourself and make sure that your team is protected.
And
So
people trading on each other's names, making sure your team doesn't do anything stupid. Because again, when we just got like, 5 or 6 bros running around, which we work with a lot of women too. It's just like, that's just kind of our culture right now. Like there's, Leah's the interim COO of our company, but we're kind of just, talk shit to each other. What's happening here? You gotta have some thick skin here.
right.
So you always got to be careful who you associate with, because it's a fun industry, dude, but we got to keep the utmost professionalism at all times.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. Well, hey, it was really a pleasure to have you on, Daulton. Really appreciate your time, man. And we got to do it again. I mean, I know that you're in this for the long haul. And so as the Texas cannabis community continues to grow and you become more and more heavily involved and, you pivot with Greenlight events, let's have you back on and talk about your progress, man.
Let's do it, bro. I know me and you are going to work on some stuff together. We talked about the golf tournament. We talked about some other stuff, some other meetups,
Yep.
We got some things cooking in Fort Worth, bro. So you know where to find me. We got our little club going. I appreciate. Shout out to the Cannabinoid Connect community. It's one of the littest ones out there, one of the best in the game here. We appreciate you, Kevin. I'm going to see you soon, bro.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. And I look forward to it. Where can people find your website or your social media channels if they want to learn more Greenlight events?
Yeah, we're not really hiding. Yeah, you could go to mine. My link tree and my Instagram is pretty helpful to track some other stuff down. But Greenlight Events Co. Texas Cannabis TV is the worst place to find me. If you message that account, it will not be me. You will get one of my people that are probably smoking or drinking, messing with you. So if you want me, make sure you're dealing directly with me. And that's really all I say, because Instagram gives me anxiety, bro. I don't want to be on that thing all day. No. We can't do that. So it's like, just get that out of there. But just anywhere our companies or our websites, we'll keep evolving. And hey, if you're reading this and you can buy a Texas Cannabis TV pipe, please do and tag us.
Awesome.
We appreciate you, Kev.
All right, Daulton. We'll talk soon. Okay. Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Peace. Bye.